Alright, boys and girls, so today we're going to be continuing on with our topic, and again we're going to be looking at oceans, and today we're going to be focusing on the plastic problem. So what I think would be a good idea to do is to get a jotter or a piece of paper and just jot down what do you already know about the plastic problem. I know in P4 we've spoke a lot about this at the start of the year from our global goals topic, and I know at P5 you probably know a lot about plastic as well and the problem that's creating for the environment. So just take a couple of wee minutes to jot down what you know, think about your prior knowledge, and then press play when you're ready to get started. So we're learning to discuss the impact of human actions on the environment. How are we going to learn this? Well, we've got a PowerPoint today. We're going to be watching some more clips from Blue Planet, and then you're going to be doing your own individual research. Why are we learning this? Well, we're learning to be responsible citizens who realise that our actions have an impact on the environment. What we do matters to animals, to habitats, to all of these amazing places that we're learning about, and to the ocean as well. We're learning to be successful learners who can grow our digital skills, and we're all doing amazing with that so far. I loved your Flipgrid videos, boys and girls, with the different filters and the frames and the effects. You've shown your digital skills through the research you've been doing, so we're going to carry on with that and see if we can continue to build those skills. You're also learning to be confident individuals who are growing your own beliefs about what's right and what's wrong. Okay, so you're finding out for yourself, is it right to damage these habitats, or is it right to try and do something about it? You're going to know that you're successful if you can say how plastic reaches the ocean, if you can talk about the different routes, if you can explain how plastic is damaging our sea life and give specific examples about that. If you can use your research skills to find out how long it takes for items to degrade, which means to break down, and if you can show the damage that plastic pollution is having on our sea creatures. So, our oceans. Our oceans are filled with so many beautiful creatures. I wonder if you can actually maybe identify some of the creatures that are in this picture. I know you've already been doing lots of great research for your fact files, so hopefully by this time you know a bit more about these animals that live in our oceans and why they're so incredible. So in terms of our oceans, well, they're places where our sea creatures live in harmony. These are ecosystems that have evolved over millions of years to function all together with the different species and the different habitats. There's a perfect balance in the oceans. They should be safe and peaceful places for our aquatic animals, but unfortunately, over the past not few years, but since really humans started to increase their activity, there's been a lot more damage to our seas, and particularly through one specific thing, which is plastic. And you can see in this image just some of the different types of plastic that are being found in the ocean. So there are plastic cups, plastic bottles, cutlery, straws. There's even been Lego found in the ocean. So our plastic is filling the oceans up and really starting to disrupt this balance between the sea creatures and their habitat. So what exactly is plastic pollution? Well, when plastic and plastic particles are gathered together in an environment that they shouldn't be in, we then call this plastic pollution. And the plastic is gathering in massive amounts in our oceans. Okay, huge amounts of plastic are going in, and this is bad news for our sea creatures. Now, boys and girls, you can scan this QR code and it'll take you to a link to find out more, okay? So you can just hold up a phone and scan it and it'll take you on to a link. So how is this plastic actually getting to the oceans? Are people just going to the ocean and throwing it in? Well, not really. There's ocean dumping, which is when large amounts of waste is dumped directly into the sea, and this is illegal, boys and girls. So some people and some companies are just dumping this waste into the sea. Other people are dumping it into rivers, which then reaches the seas and the oceans. However, not all plastic was dumped there deliberately. In fact, 80%, which is most of the plastic in the sea, comes from land. So how is this actually happening? How is plastic from land getting into the ocean? Well, Rubbish is blown into rivers, streams and sewers from overflowing rubbish bins, landfill sites and from people littering on the street. And this rubbish is then carried to our oceans. So the rubbish that's getting dropped or the rubbish that's coming out of the bins, it'll find its way to the river, so like to the Clyde, and it'll eventually all flow into the ocean. That's where all of the rubbish will all end up. There is also microfibres as well. Now, lots of our clothes contain tiny plastic particles called microfibres, and they're tiny, boys and girls. You really can't see these with your eye. You need a microscope to look at them. They can enter into our water when people wash their clothes and do their laundry. So they're little wee tiny bits of matter, and when they're being washed in the laundry, they're then taken out of the waste pipes, and that then goes into the rivers and into the oceans. There's also microbeads. So many cosmetics such as toothpaste and shower gel contains microbeads. And you can see that in the pictures of the toothpaste, the little wee tiny particles there. They're tiny bits of plastic which get washed down the drain and eventually into our seas and oceans. Now, the UK has actually banned toiletries containing microbeads, which is great news, it's great progress. But I remember just a few short years ago that loads of products like toiletries and shower gels, they would have these little wee tiny beads in them, and they were terrible for the environment. But luckily, we've now tried to move on from that. So why exactly is there so much plastic? Well, plastic isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's a great invention. It's a strong material. It can be used for many things. Think about everything that you own that's made from plastic. Look around your room. Look in your school bag. Plastic is everywhere, and it's not for no reason. It's because it's so useful. It's cheap to manufacture. It's cost effective, which means that you don't need to have to pay really high prices for items. You can get things a bit cheaper. And you can also reuse plastic again and again quite often. So think about your lunchbox. Think about if you've got a reusable plastic bottle. You can use these things again and again. So it's not all bad. But the problem is that people are using more plastic than they actually need. And one of the biggest problems is single-use plastic. And that's plastic that you use only once and then thrown away. So examples like this, if you see in the picture, it's things like plastic bottles. Okay, these little wee bottles of water that you pick up, you use it once and then it's chucked away. Things like plastic bags. When you go to the supermarket, do you always get a new plastic bag or do you bring a reusable one with you? They're actually talking about increasing the charge now for plastic bags in Scotland to try and make people bring their own bag, bring their own reusable bag to try and minimise this plastic problem. Plastic straws, again, there was a big campaign a few years ago by a school called Sunnyside Primary to ban plastic straws, and you really can't find them anywhere now, boys and girls. You get paper straws instead. And that's because of children, really, who are campaigning for this to stop these plastic straws. And plastic cups as well. And I'm sure you all know, in school we don't have those little wee single-use plastic cups anymore because they're not good for the environment. The school is trying to do something about this as well. So, why is plastic so dangerous? Well, animals and birds can get tangled in it. And they can even get strangled, boys and girls, in some plastic like nets and can holders. And sadly, they can also mistake plastic for food as well. So they might try and eat it and become very sick. And if they've got lots of plastic in their bellies, well, they think to themselves, that's me, I'm full, I've had my dinner. But it will actually stop them going out to find actual real food. So they don't get the nutrients that they need to survive and to grow. Here's just some pictures, boys and girls, and they're actually quite sad, these pictures, as I'm sure you'll probably agree. So here's a jellyfish, and it's thought, oh, this plastic bag, this must be food. But actually, it's trying to eat a plastic bag, and that could end up in its tummy, which could cause it to become sick. You can see another turtle here and is tangled up in a discarded plastic fishing net. So some fishing companies aren't cleaning up their waste, they're just chucking it into the ocean. And how is a sea turtle going to get out? How is it going to survive? These are the problems that are happening in the ocean. You can see here as well that you've got these can holders. These are very dangerous. You don't really get these as much anymore, boys and girls, again because of all of the campaigning that's happening, but these are still in the ocean and they're still causing problems of animals getting trapped inside of them. So unfortunately, this problem doesn't end here. Plastic doesn't completely break down in the ocean. If you've got a big bit of plastic, like a plastic bag, over time it will get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, but the little wee tiny bits of plastic are still going to be there. They're just going to be really, really tiny and microscopic, but plastic doesn't really go away. And some people refer to this as plastic soup. So today, we've learned about this plastic problem in our oceans, and we know that if we don't dispose of our plastic correctly, plastic doesn't break down easily or quickly. What we want to know is exactly how long does it take different types of rubbish, different types of plastic to break down? Because if we're more informed, then we can make better decisions. So you can scan this little wee image here. You can do your own research, or I'll also put up a web link as well in the assignment to help you. Okay, so good luck with your task today, boys and girls. I hope you enjoyed this lesson and finding out more about the plastic problem. Bye for now.